James Oliver Howard, DOC number 399-325.
Mr. Howard, let me introduce the parole panel to you. My name is Cheryl Renatza. Mr. Prater is seated to my left and Mr. Tillis is seated to my right. You have counsel with you this morning. Counsel, would you introduce yourself, please?
Good morning, Board. Adrienne Hutchison of the LSU Law Parole Clinic. I am here, counsel for Mr. Howard, but with third-year law student Erin and Al Pandanar. She's Rule 20 certified legal intern, and with the board's if approval, she would make the closing for Mr. Howard today.
Great, thank you. So Ms. Erin, would you go ahead and introduce yourself for the record at this time?
Yes, ma'am. Hi, I'm Erin Pandanar. I'm a third-year law student certified under Rule 20, and I represent Mr. Howard.
Okay, thank you. So let me acknowledge everybody else who's joined us. We have Carrie Myers with the Parole Project. We have Michael Banford, who wants to speak on your behalf. And Keith Amadei also wants to speak on your behalf. So at the appropriate time, we'll call on those people to do so. We also have here Mr. Randy Meyer with the DA's office in Jefferson Parish, and we'll call on him for his remarks at the appropriate time. First, Mr. Howard, I'll read some identifying information into the record. I'll ask you to confirm it. We have some folks I didn't recognize who are at Hunt. I'd like for them to introduce themselves.
I'm Leona Howard. I'm Oliver's wife.
I'm Frida Francis. I'm Oliver Howard. I'm T.
Kevin Thomas, and I'm Oliver Howard friend.
Cheryl Howard, Oliver Howard's sister. And Lisa Howard, Oliver Howard's sister. And I'm Shirley Jones, Oliver Howard's mother.
Wow, you got quite the crew there, would y'all, I don't know, we don't have that list. If somebody there could fax us that list, we'd like to include those names in the record, please.
Yes, ma'am. We'll take care of it.
And so, Mr. Howard and Erin, the folks that I have listed as speaking in his behalf will be Carrie Myers, Michael Banford, and Keith Amadei. Is there, as you know, we allow 3 people, but I didn't know if anybody there at Hunt wants to speak.
No, those will be our 3 speakers.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. So we'll get started. Mr. Howard, you're classified as a second felony offender. You're currently serving a 50-year sentence as a habitual offender, sentenced in 1999 in Jefferson Parish for armed robbery. Your parole eligibility date was August 1st, 2021. You do have an adjusted good time date, which is July 12th, 2046. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, your case has been assigned to Mr. Prater. Would you answer his questions, please?
Yes, sir. How are you doing, Mr. Howard? How old are you right now?
I'm 43 years old, sir.
And when you got arrested, how old were you?
I'm sorry, I'm 53 years old. 53, I'm sorry.
And when you were arrested, how old were you?
I was 25.
Okay. And how many crimes had you done up to that point that you were caught doing and to be considered a habitual offender?
There was the simple robbery and car theft.
Okay. And the simple robbery, how old were you then?
17.
And the car theft?
I believe I was in my 20s.
Okay. And then this offense, the armed robbery, how old were you?
25.
I think you answered that already. All right. And the fellow that was with you that did the armed robbery, the one that actually got shot during the armed robbery, but he was also committed the armed robbery. And I believe I remember reading that he actually had the money, the small amount of money. And when they found him down the street shot, he still had the money with him. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And how much time did he get?
5 years?
So he got 5 and you got 50.
Yes, sir.
But part of yours was because of the 2 previous offenses.
The first sentence was 35 years, and then he multi-building gave me 50.
Do you know why you got 35 initially for the armed robbery that he got 5 on?
Probably because I had a weapon.
Okay. Okay, let's move on from that to your conduct. How's your conduct record?
I have 2 write-ups from 2003 and a previous one that was dismissed in 2019 from the police barracks.
Okay. And so I commend you for that because I'm learning a lot about these reports that we read. Some people have 50, 60, 150, 200. And for you to have that small amount, that says something. I also was impressed with the fact that you immediately, when I say immediately, very early in your prison career, you began taking training and trying to improve yourself and to do things like that. And I want to commend you for that. I was impressed with that.
Thank you.
So anyway, that's about all that I had.
All right. What is your job now, Mr. Howard?
Yes, I work for the Warden Administration Building.
And what do you do?
Take care of the building, take care of whatever needs to be done.
I asked that question because we do have letters in the record from several people that work in that area. They commend you for the work that you do. So that's, I know that's a highly, high security area, I guess, if you will. So I'm glad you, do well there. The last time you were heard was in January of 2022. And I'm looking at the notes and what you were denied, and it said, these are some of the reasons that were noted for the denial. Need for long-term substance abuse treatment. There was strong opposition, strong victim opposition. Does note that you had the parole project behind you then, and you had a good institutional record, but there was a lot of opposition and the need for treatment. So since your hearing, that was January 5th of 2022, what classes have you taken since then?
I've taken AANA for a year now. I've taken through NA, the 12 steps. I've done a 60-day program as well. And I've done Cage Your Rage, Living in Balance, trauma healing.
Good. All right. So you listened to what they recommended for you. Now, are you a Bible college graduate?
Yes, ma'am, with a Bachelor of Associate Degree in Christian Ministry.
And you got that back in 2010?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Any other questions?
I think that was answered. I'm okay.
Okay, good. All right, Warden, is there anything you can add or tell us about Mr. Howard?
Yes, ma'am. Like you said, he's a trustee, he works in the administration building around, all the wardens, all the 8-hour staff, the administrative staff. He's got an impeccable record. He helps the inmate population with different things, as a mentor. No write-ups since 2003. So he's been a model offender here.
Oh, good, thank you. We appreciate hearing from you. So let's hear from the folks who want to speak on behalf of Mr. Howard. First, Mr. Myers, could we hear from the Parole Project?
Good morning, Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project, here for Oliver Howard. We were with Mr. Howard at his 2022 hearing, and we continue to support him. His transition to Parole Project will provide him with the mentoring and the programming he needs, technology. He'll learn how to use his phone. He'll learn how to do things like online banking, things that have changed in the 25 plus years he's been incarcerated. he'll learn social norms. He'll understand things like consumer skills. He'll have access to our social worker where he'll get an evaluation, and we would ensure that he follows any recommendations from that evaluation. Mr. Howard has done the work that the board asked him to do 2 years ago, and his record is impeccable. So we would just ask this board to consider all that today.
Thank you. Mr. Banford? I think you're on mute. We can't hear you. Still can't hear you. Do you show him as being on mute? He's on. You're still on mute. I think that's, there you go. Yes. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning. How you all doing? I was just listening to Howard, and I remember we graduated in 2010. And at that time, it was a troublesome time for me because my brother had died that year. And Howard found himself encouraging me and motivating me to keep going. And we know sometimes with a Bible college class, it could be real strenuous on us, and it could take so much from us, but he kept encouraging me to go forward, and it helped me out. He's always been that type of individual, always been the motivator. He's great with working with his hands. He's always helpful. I've never seen him really down throughout his incarceration, as we met while in Angola, but he's always been helpful, an excellent individual. And even when his family would come see him and everything, he tried to make everybody else feel loved, even if their family didn't come. I didn't often get visits, but he always made me feel like I was a part of him. And that's one of the great things about him. He always want to make you feel included, make you want to feel like you're important. And with that, I think a lot of that came from his growth and development, came through seminary, came with him passing the church, came with him wanting to be more than what people thought he could actually be. And I greatly appreciate Oliver Howard. He's, he have a lot of people that's responsible for my growth and development throughout my incarceration. And I proudly say that he was one of them. The way that he smiled, he just keeps you going. He make you want to do more than what you do. And that's one of the things that I greatly appreciate about him. And hopefully today, I hope the board could see that he has made a change for the better, and that he has gotten himself together, and that he's able to be an asset to society. Thank you all for allowing me to speak. I believe in Oliver Howard, and any assistance that he may need once he's home, I'm more than happy to help him do whatever it needs that he needs to get done.
Right, good. Thank you for sharing that with us. Mr. Amady. You're still on mute.
Yes, can y'all hear me? How y'all doing? Thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of Howard. I've known Howard for over 20 years. When I was incarcerated in Angola as well, Howard and I, we always came into the same circles. He and I share a passion for sewing, and he has always been a type of person that I've known to always try to improve upon himself. He's been consistent in that, throughout the years that I've known him, even when I was in Angola. Like I said, me and him, we met through all the different like educational circles, even through hobbycraft. Also, when I was doing time at the State's Police Barracks, Howard came, and I started training Howard to do alterations in tailoring, and he caught on really well. And I was training him to work at the governor's mansion for that job. So I wound up getting out, and I promised him, I say, you get out, I say, I got a job for you. So I have my own alteration shop. I'm in it now, and I got so much business here in Hammond, and I need some help. And Howard would be the prime candidate. He has a good personality, and he can find a full-time job here. He has that type of character that he can, encourage people, to be better. And I'm just hoping that I get a chance to work with him out here. I hope the board will really consider that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's see. Okay, Mr. Howard, before we ask Ms. Alpine Aaron, I'll say it that way, I'm sorry. For her presentation, is there a statement you'd like to make to us? And then we'll ask the DA's office to close it out for her.
Yes, ma'am. Today is a day that I feel like everybody should have an open ear. It's not everything that I've done that made the best of me, that made the best come out of me. It's the choice I made. I made a bad choice at the age of 25, and I hurt a good man because he was only trying to give me a ride home. And I hurt him, and I'm very sorry for that. Once I made a choice to start rehabilitation, I focused more on myself to get myself straight before I actually knew the harm that I caused Mr. Fernie. I didn't know it was as harsh as it was until I heard him speak for the first time. And it hurt me to the depths of my soul. For 3 nights, I cried 3 nights. And I shared that with my wife, and I shared it with some Christian brothers of mine. And I feel like today is not all about me, it is about my victim. And I want to apologize to him for his suffering, for the change that I made his life to be. I'm sorry for the suffering that his family had to endure. I'm sorry for causing the state trouble. I'm sorry for causing anybody any harm or any difficulty in their lives. Everything that I've done before my incarceration was not good. And I feel like when I look back over my life and I see all the wrong that I've done, and then I look forward in my life and see all the things that I've done to improve myself, I feel like that person that I was, there's someone out there that was like me, that maybe I could talk to and encourage them, to help them to not come here, to help them to get their life on track. And one more thing I would like to say as well, Keith Amedee has a contract with the Hammond Sheriff Department, and he does alterations for the Sheriff Department. I have plans in my mind to continue my connections with the Sheriff Department to maybe speak with young kids that they're having trouble with in that community as well. So I had that in mind. I really would want to do that. And I just want to thank the board. I thank you, Mr. Prater, Mr. Tillis, and I thank you, Mr. Nasa, and everybody involved.
So, if you're successful, you would live in what parish after you finish parole project?
My wife and I have a home in Hammond, Louisiana.
All right, thank you. Ms. Alpine Aaron, we're ready for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you to this committee for allowing me to speak on Oliver's behalf today. I think Oliver's record is a great indicator of the man he is today, only having 2 write-ups and both of those in 2003. Today, Oliver comes before you a husband, father, grandfather, a mentor, a churchgoer, He is a kind, godly, caring man with valuable skills that he can add back to the community. And as I'm sure you saw in the materials we submitted, Oliver has undergone extensive programming. He has 14 certificates for behavioral classes, 33 for educational, and 42 for faith-based programs. These programs have helped him improve, show his commitment to his own improvement, and have made him a valuable asset if he is allowed to re-enter the community. And as you heard him speak in his statement, I think the most important thing we saw here today is how deeply Oliver feels remorse for his crime. That is something that will stick with him for the rest of his life, and he feels very deeply. And so we request, under Act 122, Oliver respectfully requests release and parole with any conditions the board deems appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. And so Mr. Meyer, could we hear from the DA's office, please?
Good morning, Randy Meyer, Assistant DA in Jefferson Parish. I spoke with Mr. Frey over the weekend, the victim, and he continues to have the issues as a result of this offense with his fingers. He has no feeling in his fingers. And again, they were almost amputated during this robbery. He remains very opposed to parole for Mr. Howard. Unfortunately, he's attended every hearing prior to this one. And unfortunately, he had a work meeting in Florida that has caused him to miss the meeting today. In looking at Mr. Howard's, what he's been doing, particularly since the last hearing in January of 22, and again, the board recommended a long-term treatment program for substance abuse, and I don't see that in the record. I see he has the Living in Balance 1 and 2. He's taken 12 steps that he got in 23. And in November of 22, there's a certificate for a 60-day continual membership in AANA. Since 2022, that's the only programs that I see that he has taken in the record. I don't see any vocational programs at all in the record, other than I don't consider the Bible College a vocational program, although that's very good that he's done that, and he should be commended on that. But based on the nature of the offense and the injuries suffered by Mr. Frey and the strong victim opposition, we remain opposed to his request.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. All right, is panel.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mr. Frater.
I understand about the victim opposition and law enforcement opposition and all that, but in looking at this and considering what you've done, I can't hardly do anything in good conscience except to vote to grant you your parole. I mean, you've been the model rehabilitated prisoner from what I can tell. And so my vote is to grant.
Mr. Thomas.
You're planning to go back to work in Hammond and stay with the sheriff department. I agree with my colleague to grant you parole.
All right, Mr. Howard, my vote is the same. You did exactly what the panel asked you to do. You went to work and took some AA or substance abuse education programs. The warden said good things about you. You have good family support, a low risk score. My vote, as I said, is going to be to grant. And if my colleagues have no objection, I would like to add special condition that you do speak to at-risk youth at least 4 hours a month. Community service, 4 hours a month speaking to at-risk youth. You're to have no contact with Mr. Frey, and we're going to note in the record the strong opposition from the victim. And that you do go through the Parole Project's transition plan, which will include a substance abuse evaluation, and you have to comply with any treatment recommendation they may have for you. Do you understand all that?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, parole, good luck to you.
Thank you.
He's a good
Agreed.